Why did you decide to do this mini-series on the fear of God?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think it was about 2 years ago when I really felt led to do a study on the fear of God. And as this thing always happened, I tried to get materials together that can help me in doing my study in addition to my own personal Bible study. And one of the things that struck me straight away is that there's such a few number of materials that are available out there on this all-important topic of the fear of God. And that was really surprising to me, because when you read the scripture and you see how important, how fundamental, how foundational, how predominant the fear of the Lord is, the fear of God is in the scripture, it was really surprising that we don't have many teaching in our church today on the fear of God. Maybe this is a commentary, maybe this is an indictment on the state of the church in general. But I did a study 2 years ago, and I did finally find some materials that helped me in my study on the fear of God. I'm going to mention two materials in particular that were very useful. One of the websites that I frequently go to when I want to hear sermons is a website that is called Sermon Audio. I don't know whether you've been to that website before. Now, this is a website where churches upload their teaching, and people can go there and have a listening. A lot of the people on this website are not, internationally known ministers, but they are ministers. Most of them are Baptist churches. They are ministers that are doing, great things for God, great teachings on this website. They also have teaching on whole teaching on men and women of God of old, that people like Tozer, people like Leonard Ravenhill, and teachings like that. They have teachings about ministers, past ministers and current ministers. Any church can upload their teaching on the website. So I went to that website and I found these two teachings that were tremendous blessing to me, talking about the fear of God. The first one was a teaching by this gentleman called Albert N. Martins. He did a series of teaching on the fear of God, and actually he wrote a book, The Forgotten Fear, Where Have All the God-Fearers Gone? So that book actually came out of that series of teaching. That is a tremendous teaching on the fear of the Lord. Now, this series I'm doing is going to be a mini-series, but if you want a more comprehensive teaching on the fear of God, I will suggest that you just type his name. His name is Albert Martin. Is Albert N. Martins, and obviously you can get the book. It will be a tremendous teaching, a blessing to you. Now, there's another gentleman that I came across again on Sermon Audio called Larry McCall. That's MCAll, Larry McCall. He did a teaching called What Do You Mean Fear God? What do you mean fear God? This was a shorter series than the one done by Martin, and this was a tremendous teaching on the fear of God. These two ministers, I don't know who they are, I have never met them before, but their teaching was such a blessing on the fear of the Lord, and they were the fundamental material that I used in that study about 2 years ago, and I still refer back to this teaching as I over the year go back to refresh, to feed upon this concept of the fear of God. I've since also come across some other materials. I have another one there called The Fear of God, A Forgotten Doctrine by Arnold Frank. Actually, Arnold wrote this book after he has heard Martin talk about the fear of God. So that's a good book. I've read some of that also, and that is also a book that will be a blessing to you if you want to do a further study on the fear of God. Now, there's another book here by John Murray. Actually, this book is not totally on the fear of God. It's on ethics, principle of conduct, aspect of biblical ethics. But there is a chapter there on the fear of God, and it is absolutely brilliant. Again, you can buy the book and it will be a blessing to you. Now, I've since then come across two other materials which I've not read. There is a book called let me look at that. The Joy of Fearing God by Jerry Bridges. Now, Jerry Bridges is a little bit more much more well known writer and author, but he wrote a book on the joy of fearing God. I think that is definitely well available. I have a copy of this on my Kindle, but I have to say that is not one that I've personally read. Also, John Bevere, that's somebody that is also well known. He also have a book that is written on the fear of the Lord. So that was what sparked for me this teaching. And I remember I was really so excited after I studied this. I discussed this with a close friend of mine, Pastor Joe, who actually direct our Sunday school. And after we had this teaching, he encouraged me to actually do a series for the Sunday school. I did a write-up for the Sunday school, which we went through in our Sunday school. It was a 4-5 series teaching that we all studied together in our church, God's Vineyard Church, sometime last year on the fear of the Lord. So for me, that was what laid the foundation for this study. Now, as we then move into this year, and I was thinking about what do we do next after the Christmas and New Year break, obviously. I just felt impressed upon my heart that we should take a break and do a short study on the fear of God. So I'm planning not to do a very long study on this. So my plan is actually to do a very short study on the fear of the Lord, and hopefully trigger something in the heart of people so that they can go back themselves and do a more in-depth study on this all-important topic of the fear of the Lord.